say your name for the camera?
And we're out here near the William Howard Taft Center where the county prosecutor has his office. There have been pickets here for about 2 weeks following the constant picketing at the courthouse during the second and the first trial in the Tinson trial. My judgment, he's guilty of murder. The basic motive is racism. At that moment, he led his racism, overcome his common sense. Good indication of that is that the T-shirt that he was improperly wearing by their own internal police rules was one which the dominant figure in the T-shirt was a large Confederate flag. The first judge allowed that. The second judge, which is much more right-wing, and although I was not inside the courtroom hearing public comment of people who were, that the judge really made it a trial on the victim, allowing a lot of things that the previous judge didn't allow. What I would like to see is a third trial, and I think they should change venue to either Columbus or Cleveland or some other place that they have a larger chance of finding a guilty conviction.
And you know what? I think that the change of venue really did have a whole lot to do with this trial being the way it was this time.
Well, the fact that they, I understand there's somewhat of a random system by which they choose judges. In this case, the judge will be in the pool, but the odds are that she won't be the second or third in the third trial. So I think if you have it in some place where there's not community pressure. The really important thing is to find a sense of justice. I think that it should probably be put in prison for about 20 years. Be young enough to still live a viable life, but nevertheless be punished. And that it also is important, since we've had, particularly in the last several years, a really obvious string of killings by white policemen with African-American men. All of them appear to be blatant murder, shooting a man in the back and various other systems of killing people. But it's important to break the cycle of innocence. What we have is a lot of people that are police groupies in effect. Policemen can do no wrong. And what we need to do is break that cycle. You won't get all of a sudden a flood of convictions, but I think we'll move in that direction. It's like the first really integration to lunch counters or the first gay marriages. A lot of them were done surreptitiously by more progressive churches. And a lot of precedents in human rights, both in our country and other countries. I didn't know if you wanted to ask additional questions or on other comments.
I guess I would say my only other question would be, do you think that this law that actually did lead to Samuel DuBose's death, do you think that front plate law is very frivolous and should be struck down? Because I understand that there is some legislation trying to get that law removed from the books right now.
I hadn't heard that, but this is in all senses except the fact that it's a policeman killing a civilian, a policeman killing a white policeman killing an African-American, reasonably normal procedure. A lot of people have been blaming the county prosecutor, who I don't, in most cases, don't agree with, because he's put more people on death row probably than any other prosecutor in the state of Ohio. But he said, as the sign says, there was a senseless, asinine murder. Conservatives and his associates don't like that. There's a division within the right-wing community. But I think a sense of justice. You don't want to put somebody in jail that's not guilty of a crime. On the other hand, if you are guilty, you should be punished, and punished reasonably. I personally don't believe in capital punishment. I don't believe in life imprisonment. But I do believe that there should be an increasing scale on based on how horrific the crime that you committed. But most criminologists say about 20 years. People have stated that many countries don't have more than that for murder. And even occasionally in the United States, people get 1 year of a probation. and sometimes there's special circumstances. But when it's blatant, I think about 20, this allows for people to change. I'm a person who's 75 years old, and you've been around as many years as I have. You see that you're not the same person you were 10 years ago,
Right.
20, etc. And that's true no matter where you are. Even if you've been in prison, you will change. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean it's positive, but in most cases you get a better perspective.
Right. Because I personally, with the whole Ray Tinsley trial, I mean, I literally today just got off on a case for driving with no front license plate. That's why I asked that question
Okay.
about that.
I don't know if you know, but there's a film clip on. I'm not internet savvy, but a person of mine, a friend of mine, found a film where two African Americans had been pulled aside by Tinsley at night, and he tried to open the door, which is not proper for a policeman to do. Asked for the ID of a passenger. But they turned on their own camera and they asked for a supervising person. And they finally got one. And it showed, and I'm sure these two fellows feel, they're both African Americans, probably feel lucky to have not been hurt themselves. I would suggest that people see that, and that's the type of thing that should be placed in context. I heard Joe Dieter say on Hate Radio that they would, during Cunningham, that when they brought the issue of character in this past trial, that opens both sides. People who feel he has a positive character and negative. Unfortunately, the judge did not allow negative. And those, and I understand there are other evidences of bad action on this part, which have not been allowed into court. But I would recommend that people that are internet savvy find that clip, which gives you an insight in terms of attitude. So my name is Berta Lambert, and I live in Cincinnati, Ohio.
All right, Mr. Lambert, thank you. This has been Mike Thomas with a little bit of word on the street here today. I caught this guy walking by, and as I say, he had some interesting signs on. This is somebody who's dedicated to standing for justice, because he's definitely standing for his cause out here in the rain on a rainy day.
I'm the only person that's been every day in both the picketing of the courthouse in both trials and out here. But there are a lot of other dedicated people, and people do what they can.
Right.
You got jobs, you got other things in your life, schooling, illnesses, both yourself and relatives and friends. But I found in life, in activism, particularly, but I think true in other areas, that perseverance is important.
Yes, it is. Thanks a lot, sir.
Take care. What's your first
All right. Mike Thomas, and I'm out of here.
name? Okay, Mike. Nice to meet you.